Welcome to PPR Tool Time, your industry podcast, tools, reviews, and stories. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of PDR Tool Time. This is episode 128. I'm your host, Vince D'Alessandro, here with Daniel Grom and John Renstrom. How you guys doing?
Awesome, man.
Doing great.
How's your week?
Oh, fantastic. You know, you ask us that every week.
Well, it's a different week. That's why.
It is.
And in our business, every week is different.
That's true. But it looks a little bit the same to myself and Daniel because we don't get to travel around the country like you, John.
Yeah, but I'm still sitting in the same spot, and I'm going to be there till the end of the year.
Yeah,
but I had a killer week. I'm finally, after the 4th of July, we're in the shop full time, and I'm running 11-hour days right now because I'm taking every Friday off. So I'm having technically a 3-day weekend, but I'll go in and clean up some stuff on Sundays.
Now, are you the type of hail guy that works 15-hour days or no? Or are you like
not anymore.
8 to 5 and out?
No, I never go to lunch, so I always sit in the shop. I carry a microwave. I cook my lunch right in my stall. I eat it in my stall.
That's how you keep your girlish figure? That
is.
Nice.
It helps the boobs.
Right.
But
the manly glands.
Yeah. My moobies.
Your moobies.
So I start at 7:30 in the morning, and with me taking 3-day weekends, I'm leaving at 7 at night.
Yeah, so 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
7.5. Yeah, part-time. It's half days.
Oh, sure. That is part-time for a hail guy. Daniel and myself. Daniel, you start at like 9, and you're done at 5. I start at 8, and I'm done at 4:30.
Actually, I start at 8. Actually, I start earlier. What I do is I go to body shops in the morning until 9, and then I start my shop hours.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's how I work it.
Well, good.
But you know what? I've got a hail truck, a truck that went through Denver, and man, hail sucks.
No, it doesn't. It's great.
The truck you got sucks.
No, you know what? I made a huge mistake. So I went off of my gal did the estimate, and she assumed it was aluminum. It's actually steel because it was a 16. I wrote it up for steel, but it's high strength steel, right? Isn't that high strength steel? That truck?
It should be.
It's a 250.
Yeah,
16 250. But it just had little dents on the door rails, and man, that took me forever.
Did you do my secret that I told you? You pulled the rubber out?
No, because it doesn't have a channel.
It should.
No, those are glue pull only on that body style of Super Duty.
Oh, okay.
The outside of the roof, it's actually one piece with the roof skin, but I always write the rails completely separate because they're a nightmare to fix.
They're not rails. It's actually part of the door.
Yeah, the top of the door.
Yeah.
Oh, you're at the very top of the door. Okay.
Yeah. And it just took me forever just to get the small little dings out. I mean, they weren't big, but
I use hot glue and move through them like there's nothing there.
Yeah, well, Daniel might be showing his age at this point.
What tabs are you
slower?
Well, you know what it is. It's getting set up, getting up and down, and I don't know. I'm just not set up for it. I don't have a
you're not set up for hail. So for me, I'm up here in Wyoming where I learned to do paintless dent repair. I probably do 7 pickups to every 1 car.
Right.
So I do nothing but trucks and SUVs. They're just second nature. Every aspect.
Yeah, but them being up higher sucks, right?
Yes, no. It makes no difference to me. I learned PDR on a quick bench. So
do you set up a scaffolding? What do you do?
Yeah, I've got a quick bench.
Or do you got a harness you hang from the ceiling?
I've actually had to, on lifted trucks, build a scaffold more or less to be able to fix some of the lifted trucks.
Or he takes the harness from his bedroom and hangs it from the ceiling when he's working on a big one.
Yeah, but his wife complains about that.
Yeah.
It cuts off the circulation right about mid-thigh. Terrible, terrible.
What is that? The Thailand swing or
Yeah.
something like
I'm
that?
not sure. Funny story. My wife and I, when we were house shopping 12 years ago, before we bought the house we're in now, we were walking through this place, and no kidding, there's a sex swing at the master bedroom, and we were all three walking in. The realtor was in front of us, and we're all three just strolling on through this house. And the realtor stopped short, and we just run in like domino effect.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you got to see it. And then he just steps aside, and we walk through. We're like,
Sold!
okay.
Sold!
My cousin was the same thing in Elmhurst. The house that he bought, it had a big eye bolt above the bed, and he's like, "The hell is the eye bolt above the bed for?"
So this room needs new carpet automatically.
All right. Don't bring the black light into that room.
Yeah, we're not running a black light to this house for nothing.
Tell you what, my old roommate, he would have a party, and he would hang his sex swing up, and his master bedroom was off the living room, and he would leave the door open. And
On purpose.
Dude, yeah. And I go, what are you doing? He goes, just watch. Right? And party's going on, and before you know it, all the women are gone. And you're like, where's all the women? Yeah. And you walk into the bedroom, and they're all taking turns with each other on the sex swing, but they're clothes on, of course. Sure. But it made the party for sure.
Sure.
So if you want to have a good party, hang a sex swing up and just see what happens.
Lighten up the mood, right? That's what I've been missing at all my parties. Yeah. I'm going to go out to Home Depot tonight and start working on that.
Yeah, funny. I just supply endless amounts of free liquor, and apparently I was going wrong.
Right?
Well, I think that brings us to the end of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, we got to go. All right. Well,
so what are we talking about?
We do have a topic, and the topic is one that comes up periodically and more often than not on the Facebook boards and whatnot, and that is insurance. Insurance. Wait, hold on.
Insurance.
Such a dirty word.
Yeah, it's like finance, right? Financial advising.
I'm really surprised there's more than 4 letters in insurance.
I'm not sure what that means.
So who do you have on today?
All right, I brought on my buddy Patrick.nelke. He's a good family friend of ours. Our kids go to school together, and we met a couple 2-3 years ago. And it turns out that we grew up in the same neighborhood in Chicago. So how small of a world is that? Here I am on the West Coast. Our kids going to school. We're talking to each other. Next thing you know, we're talking about baseball and Cubs and where'd you grow up? Chicago. What part? Boom, boom. Neighborhood. So we basically grew up in the same neighborhood. He's about the same age as my older sister. So we've had many conversations throughout the past here about insurance and with our business and being self-employed and stuff like that. And seeing that it comes up quite often, I wanted to bring Patrick on because he handles insurance, and he handles insurance for businesses across different states. And there's
in our industry is not easy because we don't have a category. That's right. The thing that sucks.
Yeah, we're not a body shop.
You're not a body shop. You're not a detail shop. They don't know where to put you. So I struggled with that. I don't know if it's gotten any better, but
You're known affectionately as Other.
Yes.
Other.
So welcome, Patrick. Thanks for coming on the show and spending some time with us. I know you're a busy man and a lot of binding to do on insurance, but thanks for taking the time of day to come out and talk to us for a few minutes and tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Because I actually gave Patrick my file on my business to look over it and to make sure that I'm properly insured.
Thank you. And hello, everybody out there. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. All of you, thank you so much. So here's the thing. Your business has a location. You might have employees. You have a little bit different scenario than probably a lot of the guys that you refer to as storm chasers or hail chasers. And I'll address your business quickly, and then I'll move on to the other.
Sure.
So, like your business, if you have employees, it requires you to have workers' compensation. Anytime you have an employee, you better have workers' compensation insurance. You also probably need property. If you own the building, you'll need property insurance.
That'd be Daniel.
Yeah. If you're renting, you don't really need that. But you'll need the general liability, and depending on the volume of business you do, you might need $1 million and $3 million.
Yeah.
And
really take into account the cars that you fix. Those of you that do Bentleys and Ferraris, you're going to need a touch more insurance than the guy doing Chevy Cruises.
Absolutely. And that's one of the underwriting questions that comes up often is, what is the average value of the vehicles you work on, and what is the most expensive vehicle, the car you work on? But that's another thing. So people with a building, they have different insurance requirements than a person who has their own business. They're a sole proprietor, and they have their truck, and they have relationships with insurance carriers or auto body shops or dealerships, and they go around the country and they take care of damaged vehicles. Generally speaking, those people would need the general liability of $1 million, $2 million. They would need the garage keepers, and the garage keepers, the amount that you get in coverage level would depend on the type of cars you work on, and a lot of other underwriting questions that we can discuss further later. And then you would need to get the commercial auto, of course. And commercial auto, you need to make sure that you tell your broker and hopefully give me the opportunity to quote your business and let me know that you're going to be traveling amongst so many states and long distances. You need to make sure to have inland marine, which is going to cover the costs or the replacement of all your tools. And that's the big one that a lot of people don't realize they really need, because they always think, oh, I've got general liability. I'm covered for, $1,000, $1,500. I'm covered for my tools. But you're really not. You're covered for a certain amount of your losses, which is generally $1,000 or $1,500. So if you have a real toolkit, which I'm sure all of you do, you better get the right insurance.
Yeah. So on inland marine policy, now there's not a cap. Like I run with around $15,000 to $20,000 worth of tools with me. Now inland marine wouldn't have that cap, like you were just saying, $1,000 to $1,500. You're paying for the value of those tools. Now, is that replacement cost of the tools?
What I recommend to everybody is to just do a tool evaluation, create a list of what you own. You really maybe just take photographs of them and document them. It's really important to understand what you have. So if a catastrophe happens and you lose those tools, you'll know exactly what needs to be replaced. And yes, the inland marine, basically you set the dollar value on the replacement cost, and you pay insurance based upon what that cost will be. So if you say, I've got $25,000 worth of tools, replacement value, then that's what you're going to insure for, and that's what you're going to pay for over the course of the year.
Okay. And that's what you're going to get if they are stolen or lost or whatever.
Correct.
So I think a lot of us think, oh, well, I have auto policy, and if my tools are stolen out of the back of my truck, it's going to be covered. And that is not the case, right? That
is absolutely not the case. Yeah, you will be sadly mistaken if you feel that is how you're covered. You could review your policy, and you could see in there what your endorsement is for articles that are stolen from your vehicle, and it's plainly stated, usually $1,000 to $1,500. It covers you for your computer, your iPhone, your sunglasses,
golf
clubs, maybe not even a good set, but
right.
But a lot of dent guys have been burned with that thought process that it's covered in the vehicle.
How many times have we seen that post on Facebook?
Oh, exactly. That's what I was just thinking. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. So you have the inland marine, you have the commercial auto, and the commercial auto, you need to make sure you have commercial auto. You do not have regular standard auto insurance, because you can be denied a claim if you get into an accident and you're going from one job to another and you're working through that vehicle and you don't have the commercial insurance policy, insurance carriers will deny the claim if you're not properly insured. So that's a really important thing.
Now, another thing too, Patrick, that we were talking about earlier that I didn't realize is that your commercial policy, you also have to cover, say you're John. John lives in South Dakota and he's in Wyoming right now doing hail damage. His car gets broken into. He has his commercial policy on his truck, but he's traveled out of his work area unless he's covered past that work area, correct?
He's covered on the commercial auto policy.
No matter where he goes, whether it's Colorado, wherever.
You just need to make sure on the submission paperwork that it states the states that you're going to be working in.
Right, and I think we overlooked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you say the states that I'm going to be working in, so far this year, I've been from coast to coast.
Let me correct myself. Forgive me if I'm interrupting you. Forgive me. It's really what the important thing is the miles. They determine, are you local up to 50 miles? Are you intermediate up to 250 miles, and then anything above and beyond that? So you absolutely are covered because you've already told your broker, I'm driving a shitload of miles.
Okay. Yeah. And that's just it. Like right before I got to Wyoming, I was in Western New York. So, I mean, I'm 1,700 miles from home.
Yeah.
What's that?
So let me run another scenario by you. Let's say I rent a car in Florida, and then the car gets volunteered for the Drunk Olympics, and Vince causes damage on that car. Am I covered?
Okay, so let me understand the question. All right.
Yeah.
So are you driving drunk, or is somebody else driving drunk?
The car got volunteered for the Drunk Dent Olympics. So Vince was drunk working on my car, and I didn't get the insurance from the rental car and company, and Vince just caused a bunch of damage on my car.
While being
the car wasn't driven, it was beat up by drunks.
Right.
Wouldn't that be
vandalism?
Vandalism, yes.
That would be covered under your auto policy for vandalism.
Okay.
But you just really, how could I say this?
You should sign for the insurance at the car rental place.
You just don't tell the broker or the producer or anybody exactly. You knew exactly what happened. You just say something happened.
Right.
Okay.
Don't elaborate.
None of you guys have an excuse at next year's Drunk Olympics.
Yeah.
I came out of the Hooters and it looked like that.
And not since you're mentioning fraud, I would just tell you that insurance fraud is a reason why a lot of you pay really high rates, because there is a lot of fraud in the industry, and the insurance companies they've been around for a while. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
You better really step up your game if you think you're going to pull one over.
Right.
That scam from 1985 ain't playing out these days.
No. And keep in mind, when you do have a loss, that loss is recorded. The total amount of that loss stays with you for 4 years, and it makes your premiums for the next 4 years go up exponentially.
Yeah.
So make sure that, first of all, it's a legitimate claim. If it's a legitimate claim, you make the claim, you get reimbursed for it. Understand that dollar value is going to stay on your loss report. And so all carriers that are going to look at your insurance to give quotes on for the following 4 years are going to see that number. It follows you for 4 years, and that's going to increase your premiums for the following years. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But it's not going to be. They're not going to try to recover their losses for that one policy. They're just going to raise your rates a good 20-30%.
Now, I got another scenario for you. Say I have a shop and I increase my general liability by like 3 times. So say I have $1 million coverage and I want to cover like 3 million, and then a fire happens like within a month. Would you think that that's a red flag at all, or no?
Well, it's always a red flag, and I would just tell you that it's a lot of industries don't allow the 1 million, 5 million. It really depends on the industry. I would recommend a 1 million, 2 million, and then go with an umbrella policy above and beyond. So you get a $1, $2, or $3 million umbrella, and that will cover you on the underlying policy.
Yeah, and that's I think actually that's what my landlord requires is a 1 million, 2 million,
right?
And with their name endorsed on it. That way, if something does happen to the building that I caused, you know, they're getting reimbursed for their property.
Yeah.
And that brings. Sorry, go ahead.
I learned that when I had my body shop, and that's why I brought up the value of the cars, because at one point I had like $300,000 worth of cars sitting in my body shop at this bizarre moment in time. And I was looking at that, and we'd just been discussing our commercial policy. And I was like, my God, if this shop burns down, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
It can be a life-changing moment. You have to make sure that you have the proper insurance for the business that you have. And since we're on that subject of additional insured, on your commercial general liability or your general liability insurance policy, the guys that are storm chasing, they should always have an additional insured, a blanket additional insured on their policies. Pay for it up front. It's maybe probably $250, $300. And what that does is anytime another company wants to do business with you and they want to be named as an additional insured, it's already done. Us insurance guys just market check on the certificate of insurance that there's an AI on there, and it's done. You don't have to get a charge for it every single time. If you're going to do 3 or really it's 4+ AIs a year, you should just buy the blanket up front.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, like John's a perfect example of a hail chaser because he travels all over. He goes to, right now he's in Wyoming. He goes to Texas. He'll probably end up in Colorado. So myself and Patrick were talking about earlier was, if you know the states that you work in, you should have your policy for those states that you work in already.
And you could for those states.
Sure. And you could always add on, right?
Absolutely. And it's really important from an underwriter's perspective, in order for them to accurately provide a quote for the risk, they need to know what states you're working in. And so when on the questions that they ask me in the process, this is the underwriters I'm referring to, they ask which states they work in, and I would say, they're going to be in Colorado, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, and Illinois, let's just say. But if you're truly doing 10 states, we just need to know that. Because there might be one state that's a pain in the ass state. Let's say California, or a state that might have some difficulties with the way that their policy is written. There are a lot of things that these underwriters need to take into consideration. So just please let your broker or me, hopefully, if you will allow me to quote you, your insurance, let me know what states you're working in. And if I could bring up one more really important subject, or maybe a few more, it's really important to look at your insurance policies. They're such a pain in the ass, I understand, and they're not fun. It's boring as heck. We understand that. But the endorsements and exclusions are 2 areas that you really, really need to pay attention to. And most importantly for you is the exclusions. What is not covered? And you need to understand those because that is really everything.
Yeah. That's the fine print at the far bottom that says it could cause anal leakage.
Right.
Because it does. When that fine print comes back and bites you in the ass, and it always does.
Yep. For instance, I'll give you one. General liability. You just feel like bringing your wife with you, or your girlfriend, or your lover. You just feel like bringing them with you on the next road trip. And they're with you on the trip and getting out of the vehicle, or maybe they're helping you work on the car. They're pulling something out. They're opening a door, and they nail themselves in the knee. They slip and fall and bang their head. They get injured. Are they covered? Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. They're not covered in any way, shape, or form by the general liability. And of course, they're not employees, so they're not covered by workers' comp because first, you don't have workers' comp for them. So there's a lot of exclusions. And another one is for you guys, leakage, or like if oil leaks out of that vehicle, you're doing a bunch of work on top, but you don't realize there's a transmission leak underneath. And that transmission leak gets all over where you're working, and you're just working on somebody else's driveway or somebody else's asphalt, and then there's a large leak down there. You better clean that up, because if anybody complains about it, or they call somebody, some environmentalist calls them, and now the city's out there, and now the fire truck is there, and all of a sudden everybody's concerned about the oil.
Yeah.
And there's a $1,800 charge for the fireman showing up, and there's a $4,000 cleanup. Guess whose pocket that's going to come out of?
Right.
That's very interesting. That's something I hadn't even thought of. The other part, yeah, because I deal with a lot of hail chasers, so a lot of those guys pick up chicks at the bar and have them try to do their R&I. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you're picking up chicks at the bar and got them doing a R&I, you might want to talk with your insurance agent.
Make sure they're covered.
She might cost you more than a little prescription down at the Walgreens.
Right.
Absolutely.
Daniel.
So let me bring up a couple other questions.
Yeah.
So if, let's say you're training somebody at your facility, what kind of insurance do I need to have for that trainee? Do I need to specify that?
Are they an employee?
No, they're just there temporarily to be trained by you. You're running a school, like Mike Toledo runs a school. So he's got
Would that
these
fall under the AI?
Okay, so under training at your facility, they would be covered by a general liability. People who walk into your business are covered by the general liability of your business. You wouldn't need, they're not an employee, so you wouldn't need workers' compensation for them.
Right.
So yes, they're covered as a person walking into your business, and going through the machinations of learning. That's fine.
Okay.
They would be covered by GL.
Now, the second question is like hail chasers that might be doing international. So some of these guys are working over in Europe, South Africa, and Australia.
They're uninsured on any policy they buy in America, unless it is purchased with the knowledge that they do international travel and it's an international policy. They need to buy that. They can buy that here in America, but the broker needs to make sure that in the submission it states clearly, I'll be in the European Union, I'll be in Russia, I'll be in South America, wherever you're going to go, that they need to make sure they write that risk, because they might say no thank you and decline you. And so when you get over there, you're going to need to have a policy in that country.
Well, would it make more sense for them to buy a insurance policy in the country that they're working?
No, because it's such a, if you can get it ahead of time, you should do it ahead of time, because you don't want to worry about that when you get over there.
Sure.
And your tools and everything. You don't want, in transit, if your tools get lost, what is the fine line there? If your tools are packed away in a bag, are you insured for those tools when they're on the plane in the stowage? You know, what happens? You know, that's where the inland marine, and that's where you need to have your inland marine needs to also state that you're going to be doing international work.
Okay, good.
That was a really good question, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Wow, where'd that come from?
And that's the first one I've ever heard for that.
Well, I was thinking of Dwayne. You know, what's he?
Oh, Emerson.
Yeah,
he does a lot of international travel. Well, there's a handful of guys that go to Europe quite a bit, in Australia.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a client or a carrier called Lloyd's of London. It's a little company.
I actually own stock in Lloyd's of London. It's doing terrible.
They must have had a lot of losses this year.
Yeah.
One of the only insurers who will insure a startup distillery.
Oh, really?
Right. They'll insure just about everything for a price. They're a company that we can get international general liability through, but they don't do inland marine and they don't do commercial auto. So there's other issues they have to contend with. But
Now, that's another thing, Patrick, that we were talking about earlier. It's really hard for us to get one carrier for everything across the board. That's pretty much industry standard, right? So if you want general liability and garage keepers and inland marine, you might find that. But then you have to go to a different carrier to get your commercial auto policy.
Yeah, that's just a way of the beast. Unfortunately, in the insurance industry, not many carriers like to write all of a type of risk for a industry segment, because if everything goes to hell in that particular industry segment, they're going to take a serious bath. And I think that's from a philosophical standpoint, as a businessman, I think that's the way that they look at it.
Yeah, not all eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, that makes really good sense when you say that, because I know a lot of people. Well, why can't I just get it all here? But yeah, when you think about it as an industry as a whole, yeah, if that whole industry crashes, yeah, that's a huge liability.
So what I generally do is I'll get one company to do the general liability and inland marine, and then another company to do the commercial auto. Commercial auto, there's a lot of market penetration, or a lot of carriers that like that risk. So I can get a lot of competitive bids, whereas inland marine and general liability, it's a little bit of a smaller group of carriers that like your risk.
Yeah. And we tend to be low risk.
Yeah.
So
unless you're a travel guy.
Yeah.
Travel guys stick out. I run very, very low key, but if you're running with a trailer that is lettered up, you're running with a truck that's lettered up, those are targets, man.
Oh yeah.
That company name is a bullseye, that there's tools and money on board.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened to me about 4 years ago. I had our trailer stolen from your Belinda, of all places. It's like the whitest Republican area in Southern California. Richard Nixon was from your Belinda, to give you an idea. You know, the Richard Nixon.
That's why
library.
the crooks go there.
Right.
I was going to say, because I mean, that proves it. He wasn't a crook.
Right. So I had our trailer. Our paint trailer was Mike brought it home every day, and even though I paid for a storage place for him to park it, he liked to park it by he was lazy. He parked it by his condo, and he would detach it. And someone complained about it being in the parking lot, so he put it on the street one night, and he detached it from his truck. And lo and behold, all they did was cut the lock, and boom, $30,000 worth of paint supplies and guns and paint, PPG and Virobase gone, and gone, never to be seen again.
Wow.
Yeah, it devastated us. In fact, it was the end of Mike.
I've been in town working with dent guys that lost everything.
Yeah,
their trailer got boosted from the hotel right before they were heading out of town.
Yeah, I remember that big one. And then they found it.
Yeah, someone said that was kind of an inside job, but we'll see how the evidence unfolds on that one.
Hey, you just made an interesting point. You said trailer. So do a lot of the storm chasers have a vehicle and then a separate trailer that they're hauling?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a very important point, to make sure that the commercial general liability is completely aware that you have a trailer that will be towed, because that quite often might not be covered in certain circumstances.
Yeah. All right. Very good to know.
Yeah. So you need to make sure to have an endorsement, which is an added value to the policy with the trailer. It's going to cost you a little bit more money, because think about it from the insurance carrier's perspective. That's another axle. That's a lot of swayage potential. You have a lot higher possibility for an accident when you're trailing something.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay a higher rate with that, but you're going to be properly covered.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to travel the country with a trailer behind you and the insurance company doesn't know about it, and you're doing that as a commercial person, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah. Now, that one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Patrick on is because he writes for all different states, and there's not too many brokers out there, insurance brokers, that do that. So, if you have any questions, we're going to have a link on the page here to Patrick with his phone number and stuff like that. You could call him up anytime on the West Coast time, right?
I pick up the phone anytime.
Yeah. So I encourage all you guys, if you don't have insurance, you're playing with fire. You really are. And if you have questions, you need to call Patrick here and get on board with your insurance and make sure your insurance is up to date and everything is covered properly. Because we see so many times with trailers being stolen or trucks being stolen with tools in it, and there goes your livelihood. You are not able to go out and make money. And that's devastating to families, and it was devastating to me when it happened. It felt like my heart was ripped out of me, and it took me months to recover from it.
Now, let me ask you another question. Do you do disability insurance?
Yes, actually,
okay.
Short-term and long-term disability. That's a great point. Thank you. It's really important to know that your livelihood is all around your hands, your arms, your physical ability to do the job. And you're playing softball in the men's, old man's league on Wednesday night, and you tear up your knee, and you're going to be out for 6 weeks, 3 months. You're not going to make that income. You can get a policy that will take care of your normal income needs through a short-term and or long-term disability policy.
Is it expensive generally? Those?
Well, expensive is relative to how much you think you'll lose if you don't have that policy and you're out of work for 3 to 6, 9 months a year.
Yeah.
So
now, is that based upon your income?
It is based upon your projected income for the year. Yes. And so let's just say if you're going to make $200,000 for the year and you need obviously short-term disability is less expensive than a long-term disability. So let's just say hypothetically you want to get a short-term disability policy. There's many factors that come into play: your age, and your health history, and your income. But generally speaking, it's not a lot to it, and we can get you a policy probably, let's say $1,500. And
that's for the year, right?
That's for the year, yeah.
And that's a ballpark figure. Nobody can hold Patrick to that figure,
exactly,
because everybody's going to be a little bit different. But that just gives you guys a really rough idea of what that can cost.
One of the examples I use is when I first got into this business, young guy, healthy. I got disability insurance before I got health insurance, and it was because I did mountain biking. I raced jet skis. I did stuff that
land speed records on skateboards.
Yeah, exactly. And I would get hurt. And thank God I had that disability insurance. If you don't have anybody covering you, if you don't have another employee that is going to make money while you're down, forget it. You need that disability insurance. That's probably more important than all my other insurances, in my opinion, that I'm going to get paid while I'm down, broken arm or broken finger. I mean, the littlest thing can take us out in this industry. And guys, get some short-term and long-term disability. That's number one.
That's why I stopped skateboarding and dirt bike riding and all the adventurous things I used to do, besides my body being broken. But I'm afraid to go out surfing and stuff, because if I get hurt, I'm done. I'm a sole income. My wife doesn't work. She takes care of the house.
Absolutely. Imagine for you guys if you broke your thumb, your right-handed thumb. How long would it take you to recover from that? And how much money would you lose?
The stranger will just kill.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good example of something so minor, but it's so important, in our industry.
Yeah. When you think about that, man,
you can't hold that knockdown. You're not going to be knocking down any dents.
No.
Well, think about just as a door dent guy, as a hail guy, you can push a hail rod on a roof, but you get on a door and you got to twist them door tools. That
you're done.
It's not
Posable digits, pretty darn important right there. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you got any more questions for Mr. Nelke?
Well, tell us how guys can get a hold of you.
Yeah.
We're going to have on the show notes, but let's go ahead and plug you a little bit. So how can we get a hold of you?
Thank you. My Direct mobile phone is the best way right off the bat. 562 area code 714-9446, or I can receive emails 24/7 at Patrick.nelke. That's NELKE at Anchor, ANCHOR-insurance.com. So it's Patrick.nelke at Anchor-insurance.com. Anchor Insurance is the company I work for. It's a family-owned business. We've been in business for 20 years, and we have an excellent access to a lot of different carriers. We're an independent agency, so we get appointments with anybody that we need to for our clients.
Perfect. And you can work in a multitude of states. Are there any quick states that you can't?
No, right now we can get if we don't have a state, it costs us about $200 to get approved and licensed by that state. So we have general agency partners that have access to every single state in the country. So and along with our direct carrier abilities, we can write business anywhere in the country as long as we get licensed in that state. So right now, we've discussed getting licensed in 4 more states for this business, which would be Texas, Colorado, Oklahoma, and I think it was Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri's a good one.
Which was the 4 states. We can, and it only takes us a day and a half to get licensed and approved in another state. So if I get opportunities in other states, I'll take care of that.
And there's a big advantage, guys. If you're dealing with an insurance agent that is familiar with our industry, that's a huge advantage. You know, you're going to spend a lot less time on the phone explaining exactly paintless, dent removal. What the hell is that? You know?
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing. I've been talking to Patrick about this for probably about 3 to 4 months. So he's been doing all his homework on our industry and getting all dialed in. And he's already, with my policy and stuff like that. So he's well familiar, and he's ready to go. So.
Yeah, imagine but don't do this to me. Say, hey, what's it going to cost me, the general liability policy? Well, that would be like me coming to you and saying, hey, I've got a 57 Ford Fairlane, and I just went through a 4-hour hailstorm.
Right.
What's it going to cost to fix it?
Right.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. Your revenue streams are different. Your truck is different. Your experience in the past is different. So everybody's going to have a slightly different cost to their policies. Yeah. And so just know that going into it.
Yeah. What he's saying is don't be a GreemyPud.
A what?
A GreemyPud.
What the hell's a GreemyPud?
The person that would ask that question is a GreemyPud.
Damn it, I fell right into it.
That's perfect.
You suck.
We'll have the proper spelling of that as well.
Can I use that?
And now we have a show title.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, that's your generation. My generation is what was it from Wayne's World? Sphincter says what?
Yeah.
Sphincter says what?
What?
There you go. So you're showing your age with that one, Daniel.
Not doing it.
I'm not falling for it. Yeah. I fell for it. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, onward and upward. Thanks, Patrick, for coming on once again.
Yeah. Tons of great info. And we'll get that. We'll get your email address and the phone number up when this pops out.
Yeah.
And
perfect.
Yeah, and this podcast has been in the making for like 3 or 4 months now. I'm happy to get Patrick on. I had him all geared up and ready, so he knows all about our industry now. He's been listening to our podcasts and stuff. So
thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Patrick.
Thank you. The pleasure's mine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we going from here, guys?
Moving on. So kind of talking about the state of the tool industry. I had a conversation with James Lee, Elimadent, and happy to report that he's finally got parts in. He's putting out pre-orders right now for the Makita lights. Unfortunately, they had a little bit of confusion on his order, and he was supposed to get a mixed bag, but he just got the Makitas in. So anybody that's Makita oriented, He's got that going, and he's fulfilling pre-orders for that.
Cool.
And we'll be fulfilling other orders very soon.
Is it only one size or all size of his mini light? Because doesn't he offer a 14 and a 20?
Yeah, actually, I think it's the smaller one because he had some issues with one of the trays was too tight. The tolerances were too tight. So I think it's the smaller light that he's fulfilling right now. He's trying so hard. The guy is gold. I mean, the guy just bleeds his business. He
does. He's a rock solid human being.
Yeah, he is so good. And so be patient. He always stands behind his products. His products are always perfect. He doesn't like to have anything less than that. So that's kind of the state. And what else is there out there?
I talked to Carl Stucky to find out about, while we're on the topic of lights, I talked to Carl over there at Stucky International Lights and or International, sorry. He's running right now 2 weeks. He's 7 to 10 days behind. So if you order a Stucky light, the XL, we're talking about the XLs, the new ones on the market. That John, you have one,
right?
Yes,
he's about 7 to 10 days behind, is what he's telling his clients.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad. They finally got some parts in that they've been waiting for, so they're cranking them out. The XL is only available at Stucky or at Anson only. Now, if you're looking for the mini lights, they do have them in stock at A1. They have them at Anson, and they also have them at Dentcraft besides Stucky. So there's a few options for you that are out there. Any questions?
No, that's good.
Okay. I talked to Todd Zimmerman from Neverloose and Carbon Tech. So I talked to Todd, and I asked him if anything's coming down the road, and there's no new products coming down the road with Todd. However, he's got new parts in as well for his hood stands. So the problem with the hood stands, and I think it's not really a problem, but they're all handmade, and they take time to make. So it's a case-by-case basis, and he's just selling them as he makes them. I think TDN's kind of the same way. You know, those tool carts and hood stands, they take a long time to make.
Yeah.
Well, this spring taught a lot of tool companies something that RV industry learned a long time ago. If you mass produce and just sit on an entire warehouse, and then you spend 8 months with no orders because it hasn't hailed in the U.S.,
it could get you in trouble. It hurts.
It can. So that's why some of these tool companies are still around, because they didn't go into debt to create inventory that just sits in a warehouse.
Yeah.
They're fulfilling these orders as they're coming in. And that's what keeps them around for a very long time.
And I think it's a delicate balance, because you look at some companies, if you talk to the good people over at Anson, they are always in need of lights. Always in need of lights.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you walk into Ultra. I've walked into Ultra and seen two guys. That's all they do all day long is make lights. And they're still in need of lights. So that just tells you, there's a delicate balance to it. And there's a lot of guys out there that are buying these products that, sometimes you're
lights and stands. Light stands. I think light stands are going to be whoever can come up with the newest light stand. And we've seen some great ideas come across Facebook, but none have gone through into full production. Those that do that one is probably gonna score big and stay booked out for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, James Lee's got a new full-size light head that he showed at MTE last year. He's hoping to have it out later on this fall. Carl Stucky's new XL light is out. The new, everybody's got a light head now, and they can't produce those light heads fast enough. But as we're discovered, nobody's got a stand.
Yeah.
We've got the same old antiquated stands that were developed 10 years ago.
Yeah, true. They work, but there's got to be something better.
My favorite is the D&E light and stand for the bang for the buck. is the best light and the best stand. They basically copied Ultras, but they did a small little tweaks and made it a little bit better. And it's priced incredibly reasonable for what it is.
Sure.
So
that's the one that's available through
Anson
and Dent Tools Warehouse in Colorado.
I was going to say, yeah, all right. I was thinking Dent Tools Warehouse also had it.
Yeah.
So Anson and Dent Tools Warehouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, you speak very highly of that light. So and you have been for quite some time now. So
I use it every single day. I just ordered another one because I haven't had any problems with it. It's
nice.
It's a workhorse, and
Sweet.
It works great.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for all the updates. I think that's going to bring us to the end of our show here. Is there any burning desires there, John? You didn't mention Mobile Tech RX for the first podcast ever.
I was trying not to turn it into a commercial.
Right.
I was keeping it to myself, but then the cat's out of the bag. Hey, we're getting ready to have an update. It's going to drop here pretty soon.
Sweet.
You're going to see the first.
Stop. Don't tease us.
You're going to see the. I think they're in towards final round of beta testing now. I got to talk with the testers and stuff like that. But you're going to see the first rounds of conventional estimating go into that, and then we're actually going to have one more release, and then basically there's going to be there's not going to be any releases for probably 4 or 5 months. There will be bug fixes.
Yeah.
The big one will be coming after that. So we got 2 releases, and I think the next one's getting ready to drop within the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Now,
how about Mobile Tech RX? I mean, Mobile Tech Expo.
Yeah, that's right around the corner. People need to start booking their hotels. Remember that it is a new hotel, right?
Yeah,
right.
And they just opened that up.
Yep. That's all over. So make sure you get over to the Mobile Tech Expo website. And
so I was looking at the hotel and specifically the bar, and it looks appropriate.
Nice.
So I think we're going to have a good time there.
Good. And just to give everyone another update, I do now have the doodahs in. I do not have many. I think I got 10 or 11. I haven't opened up the box yet. So I've had a lot of inquiries about that. So go on to magnatechmat.com, and I will be running a special where if you buy a doodah and a mat, you will get free shipping. And shipping is, key on that because that doodah weighs about 5 pounds.
Yeah, that thing's got some heft to it.
Yeah, so I will cover the shipping, which is almost $20 if you buy a mat and a doodah together. And also keep in mind for all you motorcycle PDR technicians out there, I do have the brackets that Daniel has designed. I have them ready to go. They're zinc plated now, so they're not going to rust on you. And
where's mine?
I forgot to send you one. I'll get it out tomorrow.
Lost in free shipping.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'll get it out tomorrow too, Daniel.
Okay.
So I want to thank everyone for listening. We really do appreciate everything you guys do for us, and which is all the comments that you guys send us privately and publicly and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And,
you guys are the best.
You are. That's why we keep on doing it, because it's definitely not for the money.
Hey guys, buy some hot glue and drop me a note what you guys think of it.
You know what? You don't need any endorsements for hog glue. They're selling it out, man. It's the best glue on the market right now.
I want to hear individually from guys what they think.
You want to attaboys. Daniel needs some more attaboys.
Yeah, poor me. Poor me.
I'll pat you on the back.
Yes. That's when you listen, Daniel, put your arms up in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. Now put your head down.
Okay.
And proceed to pat yourself on the back.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Each one of those hands, one of those was from me and the other was from Vince.
Exactly.
Because, I'm making a buttload of money with hog glue.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hog glue's great. It is great. So, Daniel, what do you got to say?
Guys, do me a big favor. Level up your tools.
Johnny?
And don't do stupid stuff.
Peace out. This has been another episode of PDR Tool Time.